Hello folks and welcome back to Medieval Total War. I am Conostep and this is going to be part 18 of my early campaign where I'm playing as the Almohads. And so far I do feel pretty gosh darn good about where things are at with this campaign. In the last episode I was able to make some pretty good progress towards getting rid of my, well not getting rid of, but getting rid of the wars. You know, I was able to get a ceasefire with the Egyptians and the Turks. We will see how long these last. With the Turks, they have been kind of intent on, you know, just kind of waging war against my boats, and then I sink their boats and then get another ceasefire with them. So hopefully that's going to, you know, hopefully this ceasefire continues, and hopefully we can actually solidify this with both the Egyptians and the Turks by getting actual alliances with them. If we can get that, then if they attack us, they're going to lose a point of influence. So there's actually going to be a little bit of a deterrent for them to, you know, to deter them from attacking us. So that's going to be the plan here. If I can get my little emissary right here to talk to the Egyptians, let's get an alliance. And then you as well, go over and talk to the Sultan, and let's try to get an alliance with the Turks. Because the thing is, the Catholics over here in Western Europe seem pretty intent on not going to war with each other, which is actually kind of irritating because right now, if we take a look at like the French, for example, they're at war with me and the Egyptians. Same with the Germans. It's just the Egyptians and the Turks. There's no wars amongst Catholics at all. The English, the French, the Italians, the Danes, the Germans, they're all at peace with each other, and that's not what I like to see at all. So I'd like the Muslims to at least kind of follow suit and see if we can't kind of all get each other's backs, and hopefully we can all agree on one thing, and that is the Byzantines must go down. So if we can kind of focus on that being our common goal, that'd be wonderful. So far, there's not a war yet between the Turks and the Byzantines. I mean, there was, but now they've been at peace for a minute now. And once I get these boats in the Black Sea, I can kind of get better vision on the Byzantine territories. Right now, I don't know what they have. If I take a peek at this, I can have a better idea. Rhodes, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Crete. So they don't even hold Greece anymore. So they really must just have, you know, so they have Bulgaria and then these islands here, and they might have Crimea, they might have Khazar. I'll have to take a peek at that once I get a chance. And speaking of going up here to the Black Sea, my income is looking pretty good, sitting at almost 4 grand, and that's going to increase quite a bit because that's not counting these sea provinces here in the Sea of Marmara and the Black Sea, and then also the Adriatic, because I just moved these boats there during this turn. So that's how I got that ceasefire with the Greeks, was by, you know, abandoning these sea provinces. So hopefully it's going to work out for me once I can start trading with these ports again. Yeah, and that should be very, very good for me. So I'm pretty, you know, content just kind of hanging out. If we all want to be friends here on this side, that's totally fine. If the French want to be boogers about this and they want to just kind of remain at war, that's fine, I guess. I'm going to keep trying to get ceasefires. I'm not going to try to attack them. That seems a little bit too costly, I would say. I don't really want to overexpand into their territories, at least not right now. I would like to spend more of my efforts on building up my infrastructure and going from there. Right now I can continue getting my imams, my religious agents, and getting them, you know, abroad, and kind of eventually start spying on these territories that I don't have any vision on right now. And my military infrastructure is going along quite nicely, I would say. I can finally start training these Ghazi infantry, which are really, really good units. The Ghazi are fanatical warriors who think nothing of facing tremendous odds. Wild and brave, they can be difficult to restrain. In an attack, they can't smash into an enemy force as their axes do terrible damage. On defense, they can rashly counterattack and therefore weaken a strong position. So they are impetuous, and that's going to be kind of the issue with the Ghazi infantry, is that they do charge without orders. And that's going to be kind of the same thing that we see with knights as well, where you might like look at your line and be like, wait, where's my unit go? And then you'll look ahead and you'll see, oh, they attacked without me telling them to attack, and they're, you know, they're getting demolished right now. So you have to kind of, you know, rein them in a little bit, but they're fantastic. They do really good on the attack. They do great damage. They're armor piercing. They have low armor, so that is an issue. They can get shot by, you know, arrows. But they have really high morale as well. So a lot of times they will fight to the last man. I really like Ghazi infantry as well as my Muwahid foot soldiers. Let's see if I can find one of these guys. Where I know I'm training them. Yeah, these guys as well. I find that when it comes to my Almohad armies, when I like to have a front line of Nubian spearmen backed up by archers or maybe javelins, what I like to use as my flankers is either going to be these Moahid foot soldiers, or these Almohad urban militia, or those Ghazi infantry. And it kind of depends on what I'm facing. The Moahid foot soldiers are going to be really good against cavalry, so if I really want to make sure I win my cav engagements, these are going to be really good for that. They don't have armor-piercing attack, so I feel like the Moahid foot soldiers do well more in the desert area when I'm facing off against a lot of mounted archers and lightly armored camels and, cavalry units that the Egyptians might employ. They also have a decent shield so that they can soak up, any arrows that are coming in from the Egyptian forces. Whereas the Ghazi infantry, I think that I prefer them more as facing like Catholics, because they're kind of an anti-infantry tool. The Ghazi infantry can go on there and they can crack open the chivalric knights and the chivalric sergeants. Not head to head. I think that the chivalric men at arms. I didn't mean knights. I meant men at arms. The chivalric swordsmen. That's going to be the second tier swordsmen available to Catholic factions, and they're really good. They can just open up a line pretty easily because they have really good stats. But the Ghazi infantry is a flanking force. After those swordsmen have been held by a spearman, a holding force, they can do very, very good damage against these armored soldiers. So I like having them for that reason. Now, that leaves the Almohad urban militia, and I would say that they're a little bit more specialized. I think that if I do go up against armies that are more, I would say, skirmisher focused and maybe like light cav focused, the Almohad urban militia can do well at soaking up the arrows and also, basically cutting down javelin men, archers, peasants, pole-armed units like militia sergeants and urban militia, but not the mid-tier good pole-armed units the Catholics get. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. Remember, this is only my second campaign playing as the Almohads. My first campaign was my first campaign with Medieval Total War, and I was playing on normal difficulty. So I did learn a little bit about the roster, but I'm still really learning a lot more about the roster. And I'm learning in this game that I can't bring all of the units that I want in every composition, right? I need to kind of really pick and choose the right units for the right engagements, depending on whether I'm attacking or defending, depending on what faction I'm fighting up against, depending on the geography that I'm fighting in, and then also depending on the weather as well. So, and also the period of time that I'm fighting in, to see what units are available to me and what units are available to my enemies. So there's really a lot for me to consider when it comes, when comparing this to Shogun, and I'm really spending a lot of time still trying to get to grips with this. I think that I've put a bit of practice with the Almohads into the custom battles, and a lot of that has been, while I've been playing this campaign. Obviously, I've been doing these custom battles on the side. So, while you may have not seen a lot of the work that I'm putting in, because you are, witnessing some pretty devastating losses, I am trying to learn from my mistakes here, and I'm trying to, create these good army compositions. I do think that Nubian Spearmen as a front line is pretty necessary, being the only 100-man unit of spearmen that's available to the Almohads. They're kind of what it takes to hold the line, and I don't think there's any other real way around that. If I don't bring those Nubian spearmen, then I can just get bum rushed by heavy cav, and the AI is pretty adept at doing that. I would say that the heavy cav rush by the AI is something that's really caught me off guard again and again and again in this game, and I've been learning that if I want to go all out to stop that heavy cav rush, then spears backed by javelins is a pretty good answer. But to do that, a lot of times what it's going to take to fit those units into that composition. Remember, these armies in Medieval Total War and Shogun can only have 16 units. It's not like in the newer games where you can bring 20. And 16 is quite limiting. So it's a situation where I feel like I need to bring 6 spearmen, and then I do think that I need to bring 5 units of cavalry. That's including my general, who's usually going to be in a royal bodyguard unit, or in this case, Gulam bodyguards unit. So that's going to be 5 units of cav, 16 units of spearmen, and that leaves me with just a handful of more slots for what is that? There's going to be 5 more slots, right? And it's going to be it's been difficult for me to kind of figure out how to use those last few slots. you know, archers seem like kind of a given, right? An obvious choice. And in Shogun, they really were. In Shogun, archers were a fantastic unit. I'm starting to learn that I think that I like archers better as reinforcements, that they can come in and deal with a lot of times what the enemy's reinforcements is going to be, which is a lot of times going to be like horse archers and like light cav and stuff like that. And in that case, I think archers do pretty well as long as they do have a spearman unit to hide behind. They can really outduel horse archers, right? But in the main wave, in the first wave or the first stack that I bring, I feel like archers don't do enough damage to justify their slot, because they're not bringing down those heavy cav units. No, they're not. Javelins do, however, and they also fight, you know, better in melee than an archer does. So I feel like that's a pretty decent counter, bringing javelins and just going all out and not even bring in any archers in the first wave. But of course, this does depend on whether I'm attacking or defending. That also plays a factor in this, and it does depend on the enemy's army comp as well, because maybe they don't go heavy cav, maybe they go heavy infantry, and then I need to think about something else. So what would I bring versus heavy infantry? Well, as the Almohads, I do have access to naphtha throwers. Where are they? Here. Yeah, they throw grenades. And don't get me wrong, my Ghazi infantry can do pretty good at cracking open a unit or two as long as they're being held by a unit of spearmen. But what if the enemy really goes heavy, like heavy infantry? We're talking like almost a full stack of, you know, chivalric men-at-arms and chivalric sergeants and halberdiers and, you know, all scary stuff like that, decent armor. Well, I think naphtha throwers would be pretty good against that, because they throw their grenades. They take quite a while to throw their grenades, but they still have enough time if they're going up against, you know, heavy infantry, because heavy infantry is typically a little bit slower, right? And I think that these are going to be really good for destroying these big armored formations. So I need to consider that, and I think, yeah, I'm going to be thinking and trying to find a place for my Almohad Urban Militia. Obviously, they're a fantastic unit that are available to the Almohads, especially in the early game, and I think that they're going to be really useful at that point. They're going to be my only natural counter to the Catholic swordsmen, such as the feudal men-at-arms and the chivalric men-at-arms. Now, they can stand toe-to-toe against the feudals with like an upgrade or two, like some, you know, upgrade on their morale or armor or their weapons. They can go toe-to-toe or maybe even beat the feudal men-at-arms. But if they're going up against the mid-tier swordsmen available to the Catholics, such as the chivalric men-at-arms, they will lose to them. Now, will they hold to them? Hopefully, yes. Hopefully they will hold a little bit better than some of my other units, just based on their decent stats. But at that point, they're going to really need to, you know, better upgrades to really help them hold into that fight. But that's, I think, going to be the place there. I think that if I'm going up against a really sword-heavy army, then I will need, you know, some decent swords on my own side to make sure that I counter them. Because Nubian spearmen, or any spearman for that matter, will get diced by a swordsman. So that's something that, when it comes to just holding the line versus swordsman, I think that that's where my Almohad Urban Militia come into play. But that's going to be something I need to keep in mind as I go forward here. Other than that, looking at the French armies, I'm not seeing anything that's too scary. They're still kind of in their peasant phase, so they have a lot of, you know, low tier units. And we are still early in this campaign, of course. The years being 1182 is, you know, pretty low, pretty early, should I say? And for them to be on the lower end of things is not that much of a surprise. So I'm not too concerned about what's happening, you know, with my armies right now. I like the direction that I'm going. There's a few more. I would like to get better cav, and I would like to get better, you know, heavy cav, which is going to be my Gulam cavalry. Just very similar to my Gulam bodyguards, except instead of having 20 men in a unit, it's going to be 40 men in a unit. So I will need to get some of them. I'm going to be focusing on that here in Castile, I think, maybe. And then I would also like to get some fairies as well, and that's going to be my skirmish cav. And the Almohad skirmish cav, the fairies, they're great, because not just can they shoot arrows and whatever, they're fast and they're skirmishy. They're pretty decent in combat, and they have good morale. I believe they're also disciplined, which means that they won't take a morale hit from any units that are not disciplined, which is pretty fancy. So I'll be looking to get them. The build requirements for fairies is like pretty insane, though. They like it's kind of ridiculous. Like, you need a sword master something. I'm still learning the buildings, guys, so bear with me a little bit. But yeah, that's going to be a unit that I'm going to be building to. Well, those are going to be the 2 cav units that I'm going to be building to. Other than that, I'm feeling pretty okay about where my military is at. I have the units down here in Cyrenacia that feels pretty good. I have enough Almohad foot soldiers that I think it's pretty decent. They do have the armored upgrades, and that made me a little bit nervous because, you know, we're in the desert here. But then I looked it up. Their base armor is 1, so with the armor upgrades, it's 2. As long as I don't go higher than that, I should be fine because that's the limit for infantry in the desert. You want an armor of 2, and for cav, you want armor levels of 3. And that's just something that's been tested. The test, I think, if I recall correctly, the testing was done by seeing how a unit acts if they march, not run, but march from one end of the map to the other, and seeing how quickly they tire out. I can't remember specifically the parameters of that test, but it was something like that. It was something about these guys actually went into the game and actually just kind of marched their guys around, and saw how different units responded, and units that exceeded those armor parameters would get exhausted just from marching, not even running or not even fighting, just from marching from one end of the map to the other. I believe that's how it went. Don't quote me on that. It's something that I would have to look up again online, but that's how they tested these things, and they found that you want armor level of 3, including the shield bonus for cav, and then that's 2 for infantry. And that's going to be the key there, is to make sure that I train up unarmored desert fighting soldiers here in Algeria, I believe, is what I'm going to be going for. And then I'll be using the desert soldiers that I can train in Morocco. I suppose I can build an armory here, because I still need these guys. Like the units that I can only train in the desert, such as the desert archers and the Arab infantry and the Nubian spearmen, they're going to be pretty key players in my Spanish armies. Not the Arab infantry, I take that back, but just the Nubian spearmen and the desert archers are going to be pretty integral to my European armies. So having an armory in Morocco, I think, is going to be okay. But then in Algeria, I'll just keep this as a pure kind of desert training area province. And in Tunisia, I'm probably going to focus on, I already have boats going, and I can train assassins here as well. But I might just go all in and go all in with agents here in Tunisia, because it's nice to have provinces where I can build multiple things, and that's going to be the key there. So, and in Cyrenacia, I might make this another cav province, like another cav specialized province. That wouldn't be the worst thing. It's not a bad idea in this game because there's so many different things to train, with agents and navies and armies. It's really not a bad idea to make provinces kind of specialize in more than one thing. It's interesting because in Shogun, you kind of really wanted each province to be like one unit so that you can produce, at least one of each unit every single turn, right? In this game, I feel like you kind of have to go a little bit more broader with your province specialization. And that's because, there's so many things to, train and build, of course. But in addition to that, my strategy is going to be changing depending on what's happening on the campaign map. If I'm going to war, I might need to go all in on army, units. If I'm going, it's going to be a naval war, I need to go all in on boats. And if I want to spam agents and really go in there and try to disrupt a faction's internal, dealings, then agents is the way to go. So being able to kind of be a little bit more multifaceted with my unit and troop and agent production is, I think, the way to go. In addition to that, I feel like all of these buildings are pretty cheap when it comes to the buildings that train soldiers and agents. I feel like they're on the cheap side, whereas with Shogun, you kind of wanted to pinch pennies a little bit more. In this game, if you have a good economy, and you should, the trade should be the key, right? Spending another 400 florins on a building that, gets you another spearmaker in a province that kind of just diversifies your potential, build orders is totally worth it, in my opinion. I really think that that's totally worth it. Same with like building a mosque or a church, that costs 200 florins for just a tier 1 mosque or a church. Totally worth it. Absolutely. +1 morale to any troops that are trained there, as well as the ability to train your religious agents, and it also spreads your religion in that province and neighboring provinces. For 200 florins, absolutely. Build a mosque or a church in every province. Why not? This is more like it. King of Hungary, you want to be my friend? I could use a friend, because right now I have 0 allies and then my 1 enemy. So, yes, here we go, Hungary, and let's see. So, okay. Unfortunately, the Egyptians do not want to be my ally. Unfortunately, the proposal was rejected. I got the impression that it was only his good mood that day that allowed me to leave with my head still attached to my neck. Sorry, emissary. Sorry, dude. You almost died there, but... yeah, same with the Turks. Man, they do not want... no one wants to be my friend except for the Hungarians. And the French really don't want that ceasefire either, so... oh well. Moving on, I do have an heir that has matured here. Prince Abdullah! Welcome to the family, man. Royal Palace is completed here in Tunisia, so now I can train my emissaries there as well. And a keep is finally completed in Portugal, so now I can build my shipwright, and I can use Portugal eventually as a place where I can build boats. Spearmaker's Workshop is finished here in Morocco. Horse Farmer is finished in Castile. Swordsmith is finished in Algeria. And the King of Poland wants to be my ally. You know what? Yes, absolutely. I have no intentions on ever really going into your section of the world, so I will take all the friends I can have. And I have another son on the way. Huzzah, huzzah. Prince Ibrahim. So this is not the one that just came of age. This is one of my other guys. He's clever with words, so this man's ready wit and repartee is indicative of a clever mind and clear thinking, +1 acumen. Huzzah! And Prince Abdullah, materialist. He is motivated by material wealth, spending much of his efforts on acquiring more of it, also +1 acumen. But he also has a killer instinct. He has a talent for killing, making him quite effective on the battlefield and discomfiting those who stand against him. +2 valor and +1 dread. All around, not bad. And anything else worth really mentioning? Nothing too crazy there, so let's take a look at them. This is you, right? Yep. Prince Abdullah, 4 stars. Good acumen. Yeah, 6 acumen. Yeah, you are solid, my good sir. So where do I want you? I mean, it's pretty much an option of Navarre, Aragon, or Cyrenaica. So it's gonna be my choice to see where I want my extra unit of Gulan bodyguards. Also, how's your loyalty? Loyalty is good. That's what I'd like to see. I saw during the last end turn that the Turks were able to hold off this first attack from the German crusade. Valiant effort, but man, looking at this Turkish army, I don't know if they can do that again, because they're looking pretty rough. Although, those are some good armor upgrades there. I think that's... I mean, the silver ones, is that the 3rd? Is that +3 armor on these units? My goodness gracious. Does it not go black, bronze, silver, then gold? I think it does. Man, oh man, yeah, those are some good, well-armored units. But there's really not much here, and since these armies that are, over here in Greece, Constantinople, and Nicaea since they are, cut off from the rest of their domain, do they even have ports? No, they do not. And they don't have much in the way of a navy either, just have this one boat here. Yeah, I mean, they could have had more boats if they hadn't attacked me. Those fucking bastards. So, yeah, that's kind of a tough spot, right? Because, sure, they can probably train some units in these provinces. Yeah, I mean, yes, they can. They do have quite a few training facilities, but... yeah, I wonder... yeah, they don't have a lot of soldiers here, so I don't know if they can really hold out here against the Germans. Even if they can hold out against the Germans, the Byzantines very well could just come in here and take one or two of these provinces here of Constantinople or Greece. So it's going to be worth keeping an eye on this to see what happens. Because, yeah, as I was saying before, I wouldn't mind it if the Turks kind of like didn't exist here, and the Egyptians could be the ones pushing back against the, the Western forces, the Byzantines and the Crusaders, and the Turks focus on this direction. They have Khazar. If they want to attack the Byzantines here in Crimea, kill their king or their emperor, that'd be wonderful. And then take the war to the Poles, that'd be totally fine. I think that would give both of these two factions a pretty worthwhile direction to head in, as opposed to attacking Mir, is what I mean. So, Yeah, if they just don't want to attack me and they want to find their own way, then this is the way that I propose. It appears that Prince Ibrahim is just racking up the acumen now because he is now a fast talker. So +2 acumen in addition to, I believe he just had a +1 acumen in the last turn. So good for him. I don't think that's going to matter because he's not... I mean, he's not... I don't think he's in line to be king. I think that's Umar, is it? I need to check that again. And then Amir Madanish, okay? And let's do that right now. Let's double check this. Yeah, so Umar's the one that's going to be, you know, in line. So Ibrahim, okay, so this can matter because Ibrahim, the fact that he's my king's brother means that once the son becomes the new king, Ibrahim's going to be, you know, out of the line of succession essentially. And at that point, he can be made governor. You know, that's kind of the cool thing about having these guys stick around is that even once they're not in line to be sultan or caliph or emperor or king anymore, they can still be really useful. And all of these traits that they gain can be made to use eventually at some point. So it's going to be worth keeping an eye on that. And now Prince Umar, who is my heir, has now become charitable, and that's going to give +10 happiness to the entire region once he does become the Khalifa. So that's going to be really good. Speaking of my Khalifa, he's now a magnificent builder, so that's going to give +10 happiness to all of my regions, and then +2 loyalty to all generals as well, and that's a very, very good one. So, yes, it's good to see. It really is good to see that. Now, I did see over here, yeah, this is just... oh, God. So this German crusade is on its way out. I think every single unit in here has like 1 man left in it. There's a couple, wow, it's just really bare bones. Now the Turkish force, if you can call it that, has held out somehow. This is still alive here. The Turks are hanging on to Constantinople for dear life. And yeah, man, I wonder like why they can't train more soldiers. Are they just completely broke? I mean, my goodness. Come on, guys. Build a trade fleet. Do something. They do have a boat in the Black Sea, and they do have a boat here in the Aegean, but that's not going to be enough for trade lines to be finished. Yeah, that's a little bit too bad for them. But now we do have we have 2 crusades, not 1, but 2 crusades here in Bulgaria, and this, of course, does belong to the French. And I mean, what do we got here? Royal Knights, Teutonic Sergeants, some Z Kellys here, and some Order Foot Soldiers. I mean, nothing too crazy, but I feel like that's going to be enough to beat back the Turks here. What is the goal of this crusade? Antioch. So this one's Antioch, and then this one is in Tripoli. So the Germans are trying to get here, and then the French are trying to get here. And I don't think either of those are going to succeed. The Germans won't even get past the first Turkish province, but then the French could actually push the Turks back, I think. And then it'll be up to the Egyptians to stop them here in Anatolia, or Lesser Armenia, perhaps. So it's going to be worth keeping an eye on that. And if the German crusade's going to fail, which it will fail, it's going to be worth keeping an eye on their situation here to see if there's any civil wars or any unrest or anything like that. And I was considering the same thing with their French. The only chapter house that I've been able to find is here in Brittany, and I think this is the one that I was planning. This is a great spot for me to attack, right? Because there's no French fleet to stop me. I could simply land a force here and burn down that chapter house, which, man, that's, gosh. I mean, there's nothing, it's literally just the king. It's literally just the French king is in Brittany. And he has 4 influence. So once that crusade falls, he probably wouldn't stay here. Like, he would retreat, right? Obviously. And he would go from 4 influence to what? 3, 2, 1? I don't know. I don't know how much influence you lose when your crusade fails. So, however, his dad just died. It's kind of funny that he'd be losing influence because his dad's crusade failed. But anyway, that's how it goes. It's not fair being a king. And, gosh, that is so tempting. The issue is, that stack that I'd send to Brittany would be obviously not necessarily at the mercy, because, like, here's the thing. If that port is destroyed when I invade Brittany, I could just move into Normandy and use their port, right? Right? Like, their port wouldn't be destroyed if I just move into Normandy without taking the castle? Huh. Gosh, that's really interesting. They can reinforce Brittany from Aquitaine, but would they do that with this many forces that I have right here? You know, like that's... Oh gosh, that's so tempting. I think that this is going to be the play. I think I'm actually going to go for this. I mean, I have the forces here. If I wanted to bring this guy, Amir ibn Khalid, he's pretty goddamn good. I mean, 5 command, 5 acumen. He's one of my my older family members, but's been around for a while. But he's not part of the succession anymore. But you know, good general. He's perfect to lead this army. And then if I bring my brother, actually, he's still part of the family, but he's been surpassed by Prince Umar as the heir. Not as good of a leader, but still he can provide his unit of Gulam bodyguards in a fight, if there is indeed going to be a fight. Now, I have drawn soldiers from Aragon, Navarre, and Cyrenaica, so this does make me a little bit nervous. Hopefully I'm not opening myself up to an attack by the French or the Egyptians. But I feel like this could be worth it if I destroy that chapter house, and I don't think I actually need to take the keep itself. I feel like the chapter house actually gets destroyed just upon taking the province. I'm not positive on that one, but I feel like that's what happens. In any case, though, since it's just the king, and if he abandons this province, then there wouldn't be a fight over the keep anyway. Now, if he retreats to the castle, then he kind of screws himself over. But I don't think that I would spend the time to actually siege this out and assault this. I would probably move right on to Normandy and use the port to escape. Now, if I do need to actually take this keep so that I can destroy that port, then yes, that's what I'll do. And to that end, I'm going to bring a couple catapults as well to help me get into that keep as soon as possible. So, do I have the 2 units of catapults, or do I just have the 1? Okay, I'm going to need to change that. I need to bring at least 1 more catapult, if not 2 more catapults. There we go. I got 2 more catapults, so let's go in. Let's invade Brittany. You know what? I mean, I feel like I don't know. It's a pretty cheeky move here, but this could go very well for me. You know, I wasn't going to go on the offensive versus the French, but they started it, so screw them. And I've been trying to get ceasefires, and they don't want any of it. So if I can cause a civil war, and then if I can get that ceasefire with them because they're having to deal with the civil war, and if then I can trade with them, wonderful. I would love to make a ton of money. Right now, my treasury is pretty decent. It's almost at 5,000 per year. But if I can raise that by another grand or 2, wonderful. I would love it. And quite frankly, relieve a little bit of pressure off the Turks. Yeah, I do want the Turks to kind of lose these provinces, but also, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of rooting for them, but I'm also kind of eh. If the Egyptians can have a clear path here, so they can focus on the west instead of me, that's also cool. So, I'm a little torn on that one, but for now, I think I'm ready to drop this save and end this year. My assassin was able to kill this bishop, but now my assassin is rank 3, so it's probably worth to maybe send him into enemy territory and see if I can kill an heir or maybe even a king. So yeah, the French did decide to retreat from Brittany. That was obvious, of course. And yeah, I was able to pillage, just take the province and pillage over 2,000 florins and destroy a bunch of buildings. I'm assuming one of those being the chapter house. And the Turks did retreat from Constantinople. It's funny. I'm pretty sure this crusade is going to cease to exist immediately. What? Okay, so that's so bizarre. Okay, this is funny. I'm pretty sure the French crusade is going to not exist as soon as this turns over, right? But the Turks retreated from Constantinople, leaving this beleaguered crusade German army of just a handful. There's just 20 guys. Oh, that's going to be funny to see what happens there. So yeah, the Pope is dead, so all the excommunications have been declared null and void. And let's see, I caught a assassin that was working for the Turks, god damn it. And then my assassin, god damn, okay, so this is, that emissary was just in Cyrenaica. I told my assassin to kill that, emissary, and he ended up chasing him to Anatolia where he got killed, so that's just how it goes sometimes. Prince Ibrahim, so this is the guy that I think I just sent to Is he not here? No, I think Prince Ibrahim's down here, but he is now an adulterer, so rumors have spread about his adulterous affair with another noble's wife, -2 piety. Meh. Not a big deal. And so that chapter house has been destroyed, and what I can do is simply destroy all of these buildings here, and yeah, the port is gone, so I'd have to destroy these buildings and then go into Normandy, and hopefully that doesn't automatically destroy that port. Like, I feel like a naval invasion automatically destroys that port, but then a land invasion doesn't. I guess it's worth keeping an eye on, so I guess we'll find out. If I have to just rebuild that port so that I can get these armies back, then that's just what's going to have to happen. And that French crusade still does exist, so is there another chapter house that I did not see? And then the German crusade, oh god, there's just 7 men left in this entire crusade. Yeah, they're almost done for. Huh. Interesting though, so the French crusade still exists. But then that chapter house, I did destroy that, correct? Yeah, that's gone. But I didn't see any other chapter houses. Oh, they have one in Anjou. Oh, okay. Oh dear. Is it? Oh, that's a little bit risky. It's just a little bit inland. And as soon as I go into there, I mean, the French have a stack in the Ile-de-France, and then they have just a mountain of stacks in the Aquitaine. Okay. Man, it's really tempting to send a distraction attack. This is something that I would do all the time in Shogun, where I would just send a force to distract the enemy, and then I just call off the attack so that I can just stop their stacks from reinforcing. Now, in this game, you actually do get penalized for that, because the general that you used in that distraction attack can end up getting a trait that's called, I believe it's hesitant, and it's just like a, I don't know, minus morale or some shit like that. It makes sense, I get it, like, you know, adding flavor to the game and everything, but man, like, come on, like, feigned attacks was an actual thing, like, that was a legit strategy, and I felt so smart doing that in Shogun, and now I do that in Medieval and I get penalized. It's like, what? It's pretty whack, but I get it, I get where they're going with this. It doesn't mean that you can't do it anymore, it just means that you have to kind of think about which general you want to use. So, like, in this case, maybe I don't use my heir, or one of my heirs, Prince Abdullah. Maybe I could send, like, just, who's this? Abu Zayan, Abu Hassan. So yes, this guy he's already a good runner, right? He's already going to give -3 morale. I don't care about this person at all. Like, he's pretty worthless to me, despite his mountainous loyalty. He's pretty worthless as a commander. He's a good, he's Gulam bodyguard, so I can use him for his unit, but other than that, it's worth just doing like this, and then just doing this, just to try to hold some units back here. And, I think I don't want to do that here in Aragon. I think I want to keep all 5 stacks here. Yeah. Because they could still, like, counter, like, they could sidestep me and invade, Aragon still with, like, 4 stacks from Aquitaine and 2 stacks from Toulouse. So that could be a little bit treacherous. So I want to keep all these stacks here. But then the question is, do I really go for the gold here and try to take this chapter house out here in Anjou? I feel like it's really worth it, and I feel like I'm already here, so I may as well get the job done. And in the meantime, do I just destroy every building that's here? I think I do, right? Like, should I train something first? No. No, I should not. So let's destroy every building that they have here. This isn't going to net me a ton of money, but it's still worth doing just to take away these facilities away from them. So there we go. Brittany is completely empty. Now, it's probably not even worth assigning a governor to Brittany, because I'm probably not going to hang on to it past this turn. But you know what? If I can make just an extra couple of bucks off of one turn, I guess it's worth... There we go. 4 acumen. And there you go. And yeah, that got us another, 80 or so acumen. All right, let's go into Anjou and see if we can take this. Holy crap, there is 5 units of Royal Knights here. So, wow. Okay, let's see. They most likely would defend Anjou with this stack from Ile-de-France, because why not? Oh yeah, actually, here's why not. It's because they're bordering 2 German provinces in Burgundy and Lorraine. See, this is why I like having my imams, or are they alums? Yeah, alums. My alums in central, Western Europe, because this is great. I can really see what's ahead of me here. And yeah, the stack in Ile-de-France might be a little bit hesitant to assist in Anjou just because they are bordering the Germans. Now, they are friends, I presume. Yes, they are. So they're not at war with the Germans, but this could be the thing that opens the door, couldn't it? So how about we do this? How about we stop tiptoeing around and we get into Anjou and see what kind of damage we can do. It is at this point that I think that I'm going to leave this episode off, just because, I mean, I know this is quite the point to be ending this episode, but if this is a big battle, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit this one in and make this episode reasonable. So this could be a big battle that could reinforce Anjou, or it could just be a nothing kind of event. And I don't, obviously I don't know how that's going to work out. So hopefully I can kind of remember what I'm doing by the time I boot this episode back in. It just will be a couple of days, of course, before I start recording the next one. But sometimes it can be funny for me when I kind of boot things up and I'm like, whoa, okay, what's going on here? And in this case, I'm going to be like, whoa, okay, all right, yes, I was doing... Because sometimes I'll give it a day and I'll just completely change my plans, like whatever I was thinking the 2 days before, I was like, no, I don't like that. And I won't go forward with something that I initially thought was a good idea. So hopefully I can kind of stick to my guns in this one and really make sure. I mean, at this point, I'm totally at the end of this turn. I just made sure that everything's finished here and I'm ready to click end turn. I don't know if it's going to end in 1 minute or it, could be another 30 minutes. These battles in this game can be long. And with this many stacks here, if I'm fighting like 2 or 3 stacks, it can be a half-hour battle, easily, The time limit, I think, for the battles in Medieval Total War is 80 minutes, which is insane. Now, I don't think we're going to get there with just like 3 stacks on each side. That's more like when I'm fighting the Mongols and it's like 1,000,000 stacks. That's more of when that comes into play. But still, even a half-hour battle could kind of set this episode back a little bit too far, I think. So I think I'm going to call it there. And I'm glad that I'm glad I'm making this move. I'm glad that I'm making this choice to attack the French and try to cause civil war here. So you know what? That's all gonna have to wait until next time. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and thank you very much for watching. I've been Conastepa, and this has been Medieval Total War. Thank you very much, and goodbye.